Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman, the podcast where we sit down with remarkable women. In each episode, we dive into their journey, the challenges, the triumph, and the lessons that shape them. Get ready for raw conversations, inspiring stories, and actionable insights to fuel your own success. Tune in because every woman's story deserves to be heard. Hi, Dr. Chari. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. So you've been practicing integrative and functional medicine for the past 25 years. And at the time, you were a pioneer. You helped people see the natural solutions and focus on the roots and the problem of the illness rather than the symptoms. And your approach has helped many over the years. I'm happy to have you here and share your wisdom and your story with the listeners. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first question. You were born in a family of healers. Do you want to tell us more about it?
Definitely, Sarah. So my parents are from India, and my brother and I were born in the US, so we're first generation. My father came in 1955, and my mother joined him in 1960. So as first generation, our parents raised us in a very traditional environment, but also very broad-minded. And mom is also a visionary, and she would bring in healers from India and other countries around the world to expose my brother and I to natural ways of healing, nutrition, mind body medicine, spirituality. And that really shaped everything that I'm doing today.
So when you were a child, you were already feeling this calling toward healing, right? This is what I'm understanding.
Yes, because actually, my mother's grandfather was he was an Ayurvedic doctor. So they would have a farm near the home. So patients would come, he would examine them and then give them specific remedies. So that was passed down, generation to generation. And so when my brother and I were growing up, when my brother and I had different issues, mom would make us homemade remedies and always talk about natural ways of healing. So that was so instrumental in really shaping what my dreams were, that when I went into medicine, this is the way I wanted to practice.
Talking about you going into medicine, you mentioned that you had also a part of your family that was practicing the traditional version of medicine, and another part that was practicing the Ayurvedic version of medicine. How did that go for you?
That's a great question, Sarah. So it's very interesting because, again, of how mom really raised us and was always exposing us to natural ways of healing. Mom told me that if I went into medicine, I could be the bridge between allopathy and natural healing to kind of help people get off the medications, prevent them from going on it in the first place, and really find what the root issues were that were causing that. And the vast majority of my family here in the US, went into traditional medicine, and they're brilliant in different fields. And so we always have discussions about, both sides of the coin, because each one has its own blessings and its own benefits and its own purposes. And then ultimately, if we can combine the best of both worlds, when one is needed. I mean, traditional medicine, allopathic medicine, I should say, allopathic medicine has its place, with emergency care, with, acute situations, illnesses that, need to be addressed right away, infections, whatever it may be. And then from a preventative point of view and for chronic or long-term issues, we really need to look in the natural way. We need to see what nutritional imbalances are there and emotional stressors may be contributing or toxins. So there's so many variables of what really is causing that in the first place. So we can really balance the best of all worlds.
Oh, that's a beautiful explanation. I think that a lot of people feel that way, but in a certain sense, when the situation becomes too difficult, and we'll get to that later, but you helped a lot of women over 45 balance their nutrition. And I think that sometimes people tend to use the easy route because it's advised to them. So I appreciate the fact that you're looking into working on the long-term solution and not just providing, for example, a pill. even as prevention of what could happen. This is a different approach, and it feels like you always wanted to become this person who wanted to mix both worlds. Have you ever thought about doing anything else?
No, honestly, Sarah, this has been my dream since childhood. And my number one passion in life is educating. And actually, they said doctor in Latin really is a teacher. So, really speaking, if we can educate and let people know what they can do to empower themselves to enhance their health and well being, to me, that is the greatest, greatest reward. And then definitely helping people, in that journey. But yeah, since I was a kid, I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I could not wait to finish medical school and residency. And the minute I was done with all of my training, I said, yes, now I can practice medicine the way I would love to practice it.
Did you try to introduce or talk about alternative approach during your residency and your scholarship?
I did. I actually did. When I was in residency, I would bring up, here and there about even something as simple as vitamins, and minerals and things like that. But in those days, so this was back in, 92 to 95, that time frame, it was like, oh, everyone was like balking at it. And even after residency, then when I started, I joined a traditional group practice, but always practiced the way I'm practicing right now. So they were all like scoffing at it, laughing at it. But then what happened is when they see the results with my patients, then they started getting interested and then wanted to learn more about what they could do for themselves and then help their patients. But it was an uphill battle in those days, especially.
Why do you think that is? Is it that you have a little something coming from also the Indian practice, or is it, and Western countries maybe are more strict and harsh on the practice of medicine, so you were able to mix both, or do you think they're just not open to it at all because they're not familiar with it?
Well, believe it or not, in 4 years of medical school, we had 45 minutes training on nutrition. This is vitamins A, D, E, K, it was that quick, that abrupt, and that short. I mean, it was unbelievable. 4 years of medical school in 45 minutes. The rest of it was all about pharmaceutical medications and other interventions. So the real foundation of health and wellness, starting with nutrition, which should always be the foundation, was missing. And that's a huge gap. That's a huge gap. And, I'm hoping that things are starting to change. It takes a long time, but bit by bit. But really speaking, the public is demanding it.
It was missing from the program altogether.
Yes. Yes.
There was
And
just no knowledge taught about how important nutrition was. Okay, is, sorry. Okay. That's quite alarming.
it is alarming. And
Yes.
even then in residency, it wasn't emphasized at all. And so it was always about the medications. And so even then, even during residency, I would then guide my patients, at that time on nutrition and other things and different remedies, supplements they could take as well with their medications and, could guide them in both angles because I knew the medical side as well as the natural side. And I felt then I said, wow, that's why really my goal is really in educating the public because so they can be empowered because for the other doctors, it becomes almost indoctrinated in what they're doing. I think the younger generation now is much more open of the medical students and residents and doctors now want to learn more. But in those days, it was very, very different. So I'm glad that because of public demand and everything that they're saying we need to change.
Yes. And you grew up also with your grandparents who were doctors in India. Would have you noticed in India, for example, doctors offering an alternative first rather than going for the traditional practice more than here in the Western countries?
Yes, I think because in India, it's so ingrained. Ayurveda, which is an ancient medical science from India, dates back over 5,000 years. And there's texts written on it which are so detailed. It's so scientifically based. It's really profound. And so, because of my great grandparents and our ancestry of really using Ayurveda for healing and how it was passed down, and so even when we would travel to India, every few years to visit our family in India, and with our grandmother, we would see how she would make homemade remedies, which my mother also did as well, and aunts. And it was just that was very inspiring seeing how she was doing things in a natural way, and her knowledge and depth and wisdom is just was just so profound. My maternal grandmother. And so, she passed that wisdom on to her children, my mother, my aunts, and uncles. So it was really profound, and we will hopefully continue to pass that down generation to generation.
You know what I find beautiful is that in a certain way, you decided to study through do the whole scholarship of becoming a doctor, as the Westerner will understand a doctor to be. And at the same time, this whole time, you knew where your path was. And you obtained the credentials that people are expecting from a doctor. And you're still teaching the medicine that you think is best for people. And I think it's a beautiful mission because it takes a lot of heart and wanting to help people on a deeper level to still want to practice the way you practice. So that's amazing. And that's very reassuring to know that there's still out there doctors who really care about their patient.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. That means a lot, because really that was our heartfelt mission from day one when we formed the Chari Center of Health back in 1999, that we wanted to treat our patients as members of our own family with care and compassion, give them the time they need and that they deserve.
That is very beautiful. That is very beautiful that you're taking. So and you mentioned now that you're also caring for people, but I know from our previous conversation that it's more than that. You talk about family. It's because you started a business with your family. How was that for you?
Yes, that means, frankly, everything to me, because our father passed away when he was only 51 from a massive heart attack.
Oh, that is very young.
Oh, thank you. And it was a life-changing moment for us personally, because we said, how did this happen? Why did this happen? And how can we prevent this from happening to others? Because my brother and I were teenagers at that time. And our mother and my brother and myself, we sat down, we said, one day we want to have a healing center where we really address the root cause with natural approach, also address the emotions in addition to the physical aspect. And really, as I was mentioning, with the time that they deserve, it takes time to really get to know someone, customize programs for them. And so that was our mission. And that's why I went into medicine. My brother went into engineering. And then we came together with our mother, and then in 1999 opened our center to address a person holistically, physically and emotionally. And our mother was there.
Your brother was an engineer?
Yes.
Oh, so he took a different path.
Yes, yes. He wanted to follow in my father's footsteps. My father was a chemical engineer. So then he went into industrial engineering and manufacturing management, got his MBA and Master of Science degree in engineering. But his love and passion was always in working with people, helping with people, helping people. So he then went that route of becoming a certified biofeedback specialist to then address the emotional aspects with advanced technologies. And he's very intuitive and a healer in his own right.
So he was able to mix both worlds, the engineering world and the medical one. That's a beautiful way of combining both, and it's very needed because you just talked about generational trauma. And I told you last time I read about it, but I didn't know about biotech. Just to
It's
make sure,
yes, well, he does advanced voice biofeedback technology.
biofeedback. Sorry, biofeedback,
That's
advanced biofeedback technology. Can you explain us what it is?
definitely. It's like, thank goodness we're living in the times we're living in, because we have the benefits of advanced technologies with our health and wellness. So it's very profound. With the sound of your voice, we can literally map out what emotions are there, to what degree, And then most importantly, then send frequencies back to the person to help literally transform those emotions. And so we can release stress, we can release anxiety, depression, traumas, but in a very elegant fashion. Because, our conscious mind is like above the iceberg. The subconscious mind is beneath the iceberg, is the iceberg that we can't see. But that's really driving our behaviors and everything we're doing in our life. And it's fascinating, Sarah, that how they say we inherit physical characteristics from our ancestors,
Hmm.
our height, weight, eye color, different aspects. But what they're finding now, and this is what the ancients knew already, by the way, but what's now being researched now is how our ancestors' unresolved emotions can get passed down as well. And how, most importantly, that then drives our behavior and some of the decisions we make in our life. And so, with this technology, we're actually able to work at that level as well, so that we can be free of influences. We keep the good things, of course, but other influences that may be affecting us and that we're not even aware of, so that the decisions we make, everything we make, comes from a place of empowerment and from our true self. And it's changed, sir, literally the direction of our life, the work that my brother does with us personally, as well as the thousands of people he's worked with over the years.
So you heal as much the mind than the body at your center. That's a beautiful combination. It's not only holistic, it's going beyond what's out there. Is it what makes your center special and different from other wellness centers?
Yes, definitely, definitely, because that was our mission from day one. We saw that with our father, how the stress and his boss that he had at that time really impacted his health and wellness and really contributed to blood pressure and everything that happened that eventually led to his passing. So we said we are going to address the physical aspect, nutrition and toxins, but equally important, we're going to address the stress, the anxiety, the emotional aspect for a complete holistic view and remedies for how a person can really get back to their true self and really empower them. That's our goal, to really empower people in all aspects of their life. That's so important.
What is the typical uh, time span for a not a full healing process, but if someone is expecting to go to your center and want to feel better and heal, what is exactly the time of the program for it?
Yes, so I usually say that at least 90 days, because it takes, a little bit of time to rebuild a person nutritionally, cleanse toxins from their body, and maybe make a few lifestyle changes. It takes a little bit of time, and I really fully believe that slow and steady wins the race. And the body takes time to adjust and make, corrections along the way. And I support them also with very, very advanced nutritional remedies as well. That's very important. And for those that are willing to step into and even want to see, okay, how can I start releasing some of the stress in my life? Then, I show them different techniques. And for those who want to take it even to a further level, then, they are interested, then they work with my brother to really go at that deeper level, which is very profound. So we meet people where they're at, but I would say about 90 days. And then definitely over, as we move on further, they'll continue seeing dramatic results as well.
So it's 90 days for the nutrition and the bio. I'm gonna get this word straight. Wait, biofeedback. There you go. And the biofeedback together, or is it just for the nutrition and then they have to add another 90 days for the biofeedback?
Well, even for my program, I usually allow for 90 days. So I'm working really at the physical aspect. And, my brother and I have different clients. Some people just want the physical, some people just want the emotional, some people want
Oh,
both.
it's customizable.
It's 100% customizable.
That's great. So Do you think so? How do you determine if they need both, or they need only, they should take one route and then you can reevaluate later on if they need to take the route with the generational biofeedback healing?
Yes. So if they're coming in very depleted, exhausted, they are having a lot of toxins, they have a lot of medical issues going on, then definitely I recommend, starting with the physical so we can rebuild them. And then definitely still it's very important to address the emotional. And for others, they're having a lot of stress in their life, or previous trauma is impacting their life and their health and well-being, and they really want to address that, then they work with my brother as well. Or if they have certain projects they want to do, or some aspects in their business that may be feeling stuck and they want to correct that, or relationship issues, then they start with my brother. And so it really depends what their goals and needs are, and then we can direct them either way.
Do you see a common trait, a common issue in people?
Yes, well, honestly, I would really see that. And what's not really talked about enough is how our emotions really affect our health and wellness. And this was really brushed under the rug for so many decades, honestly. But our thoughts lead to our emotions, that leads to a physical effect. It affects our hormone balance. It affects our immune system. Like when they say when someone's under a lot of stress, they age quicker, and they start having other issues, and we're seeing even with heart disease and so on, it's related to a lot of built up stress that has been occurring for a period of time, and then that ends up manifesting either as heart disease. For others it may be cancer, for others it may be autoimmune conditions. And they're finding, even with autoimmune conditions, yes, it's related to nutritional deficiencies and toxins, but oftentimes it's also related to, maybe could be years of underlying stress, or maybe unresolved trauma that impacted their immune system to become imbalanced in the first place. So that's very important.
So the work you do takes a lot of digging into people's history as well.
Yes, absolutely. In very much in depth, especially, when I start working with them, with the intake that I do and the questions I ask, I really explore all of these areas, really see what may have impacted their current health and well-being, and the symptoms that they're experiencing, and medical conditions.
So see, I see once again a difference between the traditional medicine and your medicine, because there is a long consultation involved with you, where, as mentioned earlier when I introduced you, you seek the root of the problem, not just the symptoms. And this is something, once again, that I know the audience is going to love, first of all, because it's very talked about, but also in a sense, I've noticed, and this is my personal opinion, obviously, but I've noticed that there is a lot of healing of the mind going on, and there is a lot of healing of the body going on. But I have never met somebody who was combining both. You are absolutely the first person I meet doing that, and this is why I'm vouching absolutely for your center. And I haven't tried or anything yet, but the thing is, the description of your work makes absolute sense to rebalance us as human being on earth. It's connecting the mind, the spirit, the body all together, and it's this is what I'm understanding from what you've been explaining to me, and I think that this is really something that people will be attracted to more and more. I feel that the work is still in progress on that. I think you feel it too, right? Yes, absolutely. It's unbelievable how everything is accessible out there, but it takes a long time for us to get to know exactly who to turn to, and what to exactly tackle when it comes to our well-being. And that, talking about that, you also helped mothers and women over 45, usually who have menopause and then are starting to feel the symptoms, I'm going to say, of menopause. And you've been helping them go through the menopause in a better way, and lose the fat they didn't know how to lose before, although they went through a lot of programs and they felt frustrated about it. Tell us more about it.
Yes, Sarah, this is my biggest passion, is in working with women over 45, because it's a transition part of our life. It's like we're moving into another phase of our life. And, menopause is almost looked at something that's like another medical condition, but really it's a transition. So what I love is helping women really empower them in that to raise their confidence levels again. Because what happens is, and because this is what I went through personally, is, if despite doing all the right things, and that's what led me to deep dive and really find the protocols that would really can change someone's life, because it changed my life, is because after a certain age, despite eating all the healthy foods and exercising, this belly fat comes, which affects us on so many levels. Physically, it affects our confidence. We may not go to social events or want to hide away from photographs, or we may not really want to come outside and really promote. Let's say we want to start a business or bring our gifts to the world. You may be holding ourselves back because of how we feel about ourselves, because of the weight, because of the belly fat, because we're not having enough energy, because our moods may not be so stable and, as it may have been in the past. And it really affects the confidence and, frankly, the direction of our life in this beautiful new phase of life. So that's why I'm so passionate, because I want women to feel empowered. I want them to be in their best of health as they're moving into that new phase, and literally turn back the clock. We can reverse aging. It's not a myth or just a slogan that we may hear. We can do that with the right nutrition, clearing toxins, and certain adjustments in our lifestyle. We can do that so that we feel empowered as women to bring our gifts out into the world with confidence and to have the energy we need, really, in this magical, beautiful new phase of our life.
I appreciate you using the term reverse time because reverse the time because it's something that everybody talks about. But very often we are talking about those extra wrinkles that we don't want to see anymore, and a superficial way of talking about reversing time, right? Do you want to tell me why you're using this term talking about nutrition? How can we reverse time with through nutrition?
Yes. Well, the foundation of our health and wellness is definitely nutrition. That is absolutely critical, absolutely critical. And then we need, because our soil is so depleted and the toxins we're exposed to, we need certain targeted remedies that our body can recognize. That's very important. So, with our nutrition, with targeted natural remedies and certain herbs, what will happen is we get our bodies to do what it does naturally. What they're finding is, even with hormone imbalances and other issues, yes, maybe the levels have changed a little bit, but why have those levels changed? What they're saying is now because the cells aren't able to communicate as effectively with each other, because we're not getting enough nutrients, because we're not getting enough toxins. So, if we can correct these imbalances and release these toxins, we can enhance how the cells talk to each other, because communication, whether it's between ourselves or between us as humans and all types of relationships, is the most important thing. And when that happens, and when we can get our body to manufacture what it needs, it will rebuild, it will regenerate, and we can reverse the aging. And even you'll notice that the on the outside, the wrinkles start going away, hair starts growing in thicker, our bones get stronger. Yes, muscles get stronger, everything. It's amazing.
That is amazing. That is what everybody is looking for. I'm surprised that people are not focusing more on the inside rather than the outside. If now it reflects on the outside as well, this is great. We're gonna have to have a talk after.
Yes,
After
definitely.
you. It's and regarding the woman of 45 years old, and I love this topic because I can see a lot of for example, Hollywood stars standing up for themselves right now, and such as Halle Berry, for example, who is a big advocate for menopause and women still being beautiful even if they're aging. And it's just a global topic right now. Who else? Pamela Anderson as well is embracing her age right now, and she feels. I have the impression that she feels happier as well. Back to the emotional part of healing as well was your brother, right? Um, when you when a woman is at the point of her life. Let's talk about this. When a woman should contact you, for example, and start talking about nutrition, what kind of symptoms do they complain about when they meet you?
The most common frustration I hear from women, Sarah, is the belly fat.
The belly
The
fat.
belly fat is the one of the biggest issues.
Sorry, after pregnancy or in general?
In general, and because my practice is more focused on women, over 45 and 50, so that is the biggest frustration is what's happening to my body, how come I'm doing the same things but I can't get rid of this belly fat. And the other issues that are really affecting them is either they're not able to sleep as well, they're noticing that they're having mood swings and it's affecting their relationships, they're losing their libido, they're not having the energy they used to have, they're having more aches and pains, or they're having hot flashes and night sweats, that's keeping them up at night, and they have to, it's disrupting their sleep, their quality of life, all of these symptoms, which can definitely be reversed.
So those are symptoms of, in general, menopause, but also I think it starts. I can already see the difference. Me, I'm 34 years old, and I can see the difference physically. Up to 33, I would say was fine, and now I can see the difference in my body, my hormones, and I think it starts early. It obviously propels when you have children because it's such a major hormone tornado going on, in your body. But are we talking about, and my question is, are we talking about menopause? Are we talking even, for example, about women like me who might start seeing certain symptoms and just want to be able to be ahead of time?
Sarah, that is the most ideal situation, is women at your age actually being very proactive from right this moment, because then over the next 1 to 2 decades it will be a seamless transition, and actually it'll enhance the health and wellness, it will help to balance the hormones, so they won't have to go through all of the, literally it can be feel like a crash when they're going through that transition of when their periods start changing and when the periods stop. So the ideal world, the younger anyone starts, definitely always the better. Always.
So are you saying that it's possible? It's more of the, for example, what I can relate to in this conversation. It's mainly the fact that sometimes we're very hot very easily, and you wonder where it's coming from because it's almost unbearable sometimes, and it's even worse when it's hot outside, and then, for example, you have your feet that start to swell and things like that. Do you, with the right nutrition, can you prevent it, or are we talking about slowing it down?
No, we can actually prevent it. If we can decrease the inflammation in the body, give the body the nutrition that it needs, it will help the hormones to balance. Because it was interesting when my mother went through menopause, she didn't even know what a hot flash was. So when some of her friends were having hot flashes, she would come and ask me, "What's a hot flash? What are my friends going through?" And that's what I really feel with the nutrition and the herbs. We can either prevent it or definitely minimize it for sure.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is great news because it's something that we are not comfortable, honestly, going through. Not because it's changing, it's just because it really prevents us to feel, as you mentioned, glorious in our everyday life. When you talked about the fat located around the waist, where does this fat come from? I know a lot of people, and I'm just going to throw that in there. And I know a lot of people talk about insulin resistance, for example, right now. Is it, could it be a symptom, or is it just natural for a woman to gather fat around the waist?
Well, what happens? Insulin resistance is very real. It is very real. So, what happens is when the cells, either because they have a lot of toxins, so when insulin is coming and knocking on the door and saying, let me in so I can get sugar into you, cell, so you can make some energy. And the cell is saying, I don't recognize you. I don't know who you are. So then the body makes more insulin and more insulin. And as insulin levels go up, we end up storing more of the belly fat. And the other issue is cortisol. So if we're under a lot of stress as well, our cortisol stress levels go up. And when those cortisol levels go up, then the insulin levels go up, and then we store belly fat because the body's seeing, okay, we're in a state of emergency here. We need to, store some fat to have energy as fuel. So there's several different reasons. And in addition, also because of all the thousands of chemicals that we're exposed to, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, heavy metals, and the list goes on and on and on, our body sometimes will hold on to fat as well to buffer and protect our organs from the toxins. So there's a lot of different reasons why we end up storing that belly fat. And then, of course, hormonal changes as well.
I was going to ask you about all the hormones and the pesticides and the chemicals that are found in food. I can't help but look at the piece of chicken releasing a serious amount of water in my pan and me feeling frustrated, not because I purchased something that wasn't real, but I just don't understand how these practices in the food industry are allowed. I understand the profit behind it, but I don't understand how can we let people get sick on such a high level and be okay with that. So this is a major topic. I know it's obviously in everybody's mind, but at the same time, I am wondering to what level we can combat this issue, and what kind of food we should purchase now. That's, is there a way to know how to reduce the chemicals in our food? Is there a way for us to read the ingredients, or what has been injected in there and say, okay, this, I have to stay away from it because it's hormone disruptive?
Yes, and this is what I tell people, that if they're looking at a package of food and they can't pronounce the labels and they're this long, the ingredients in there, that's not good. Definitely, it's not good.
All right, so I think it's most of the ingredients of the food at the supermarket. We're doomed.
And so, what I tell people, when you walk into a grocery store, stick on the outside of the grocery store, where the fresh fruits and vegetables and meats are. In between are usually where a lot of the processed tempting foods are. And so, but really speaking, we need to increase our intake of vegetables, of fruits, and eating, most importantly, also the high quality fruits and vegetables and meats. That is the most important. It's where are they sourced? And I know it's not a perfect world, and it's not that we can get 100% organic, but whenever possible, try to buy organic produce and try to support your local farmers at the farmers markets and buy produce from them. And then when you go home, there's different types of soaps that you can use that are biodegradable, that are natural, that will help clear the toxins. And there's even different technologies that you can put into the water and put your produce in there, and they will extract the different chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides that are being sprayed right now on our food. So, it's difficult sometimes, but we do the best that we can. And you can also use, white vinegar, you can use salt. There's different things that we can do.
That works too, the vinegar and the salt. I also saw baking soda and vinegar together. Are those good combinations?
Yes, there's different recipes, absolutely, that you can use. But even just salt, using salt in water can help, and definitely vinegar is very good. So people can experiment and see, what they prefer and what they like. But just wash the produce, a little bit, just to clear it out. And even if it is organic, the same idea. But the key is definitely increasing our intake, because we need antioxidants. We need to help clear our bodies of toxins and what they call free radicals, which can damage our cells. That's the most important, and especially cruciferous veggies like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, well cooked. They should be well cooked. But those veggies help our liver to detoxify, and that's really important.
And this helps with the belly fat.
Yes, yes. The more that we can help decrease inflammation in our body, and the more we can help our liver detoxify, that will definitely help. clear the toxins. And, there's other things we definitely have to do as well in terms of with metabolism, but that is the foundation is the foods we eat.
That is wonderful. It's great to have somebody tell you on a professional level exactly how to uh, how to tackle common problems with everyday habits. It's how long does it take usually for a woman who decides to work with you on her nutrition for her to see results?
For some women, depending on the situation, within, the first couple of weeks or the first month, they will, can start to see changes. And then over the next couple of months after that, definitely they'll continue to see a lot of changes in terms of their energy, vitality, the night sweats, all of these things will start to decrease over time. But again, oftentimes within, a few weeks, they'll start to see results within, let's say, the first 2 to 4 weeks. It's pretty dramatic. And I also do extensive lab testing to be able to see what imbalances there are. I do very thorough lab testing and give them a functional medicine report to say, my range of normal is here to here, not from here to here, not from the sun to the moon. So we can catch things early, be, very proactive and reverse it.
For somebody who hasn't heard about your center, and I'm going to talk about a woman, and more specifically a woman who had children, um, would it be good for her to work on the nutrition, but also work on the biofeedback, with the biofeedback on any, for example, postpartum trauma she might have experienced?
Yes. I mean, ideally, Sarah, it's very important to address both the physical and the emotional. That will have the most profound effect. And so, for those women who are open to that, I promise you it can literally change the direction of their life and make anything that you do at a physical level work that much faster. Because here's the other thing that happens is with as far as with losing weight, we tend to, and that's where the emotional part tends to get skipped over. But what's really driving our behaviors, whether it's what we eat, what we drink, how much we exercise, is really going back to emotions, because there may be something blocking us from doing the things that we know would be good for us. So addressing the emotions, I feel, is just such a vital part of our life and for the quality of our life.
This is what I absolutely believe it. And this is why I was asking you, because I can see that sometimes our mind is the only obstacle we have to healing in general. There is a lot of, for mothers specifically, who are going through this major trauma physically of giving birth, not recognizing their body, and then snowballing into being a full-time mom, and which is a full-time job, on top of the life she had before. And it's just this feeling of desperation sometimes that there is just nowhere to turn to. And even though the answer is offered through nutrition, it becomes just a mountain to climb because it feels inaccessible sometimes for to me it all comes from the mind first. And this is once again why I love the fact that you're healing as much, the true frequency, the the mind, and almost the DNA, because you're talking about generational trauma right there.
That is exactly what it is, Sarah. You stated it and summarized it so beautifully. It is generational trauma that my brother is helping clear from his clients. And it is that generational trauma that no one talks about because, our ancestors, they weren't able to vocalize and speak about what they went through the way we're all able to in our day and age. So much of it was suppressed and really impacted their health, their quality of life. And then unknowingly, that gets passed down. And this is why a lot of the different cultures and ancient cultures around the world talked about generational trauma. But the key is then how can we clear that? And the beauty is there's very advanced technologies nowadays. And that's what my brother does with the advanced voice biofeedback that literally can show you, map out what emotions, what you picked up from your parents, from both sets of grandparents. Yes, yes. And then, most importantly, how we can clear that. It's so profound.
I know it is your brother who takes care of that part, but do you mind digging a little deeper into that subject? You mentioned that we are able to see it. How?
So, what my brother does when he works on someone is he has them speak and he creates a voice map. So, for that person themselves, and then he'll have them speak about each of their parents and then both sets of grandparents. And even if they never knew their grandparents, it doesn't even matter because that imprint is still carried in us. They can say, "Oh, I didn't know anything about my mother's mother or my father's mother or whoever it may be that they didn't know of that ancestry." And it just going up to the grandparents level, and it'll still create a very clear voice map of the emotions that person carried and then how that affected us. That's how advanced the technology is. And then the beautiful part then, once we see that, then it actually, it's so empowering to people because then they say, oh, that's why I feel the way I do, or that's why I make certain decisions that it seems like it's coming from me, but it felt like it wasn't even me. And then, most importantly, when we clear that, oh my gosh, it's a game changer. It changes everything in their life, the decisions they make, the actions they take, and then the results that end up showing up in their life. And even synchronistic events that happen of meeting certain people or certain things happening at a certain time. It's just like it almost literally plugs you in to what your divine birthright is, and things just happen. It's just like life goes in a much more flowing manner with ease and grace, and it becomes that much more miraculous. That's what we experience personally and with our clients.
It's a miracle. It's there is no way to describe it. How do you clear the wrong emotions?
So what he'll do then is feedback missing frequencies from the voice. So like on a piano, we have different keys, 12 different keys. So when different emotions can actually squash or diminish certain frequencies in the voice. So in fact, when people say, how come when I'm speaking nobody listens to me? And they like, I'm not heard, I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard. Well, literally other people aren't hearing them because of these different emotions are literally affecting the different frequencies and tones in their voice that are not even being expressed. So when you feed back the missing frequencies, and it's done, he does this very eloquently, then those frequencies come back, the voice tone is matching all the notes, and they're being seen, they're being heard, and it changes the perception because our view of life is like through binoculars. It's how we see things. And Wayne Dyer said it's how we look at things, and when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So what happens when we change the way we're perceiving and seeing the world? Everything changes. Then people treat us differently, we treat other people differently, and then it's a beautiful effect of how life should be, frankly, without all of those blockages.
I'm lacking of words to describe this situation, and the first thing that comes into my mind is all the movements of the law of manifestation, with The Secret, the book. And like you mentioned, try to project what you want to be so it will happen. All those movements, it had a real connection to the truth. It's only that it wasn't described on a scientific level like you just mentioned, because it's all about frequency. If you convince yourself and you heal from focusing on the past and the trauma, and you don't know what's wrong with you, but you feel that you deserve better, so this is where you focus on, indirectly you also rewire the frequency of yourself. So it is that is incredible. This is unbelievable. How come it's not talked about more?
Yes, it's going to take a little bit of time, definitely, unfortunately, but uh, thank goodness, again, with time and people are being exposed to different technologies, that it's going to continue coming out. And that's our goal, really, is educating people because just like you said, Sarah, it's creating new pathways in the brain. And this is why sometimes when people I love meditation and affirmations, but sometimes people will meditate or say positive statements, but everything still feels stuck and it doesn't seem like anything has changed in their life. That's because of the iceberg beneath the water that's there, that is directing everything in their life. And at a conscious level, unconscious level, it's like, and when we clear those blockages, oh my gosh, it's absolutely amazing. So we're living in really exciting times where we can change the direction of our life.
It is little to say that we're living in exciting times because where there is a clash of modernity and technology taking place into the evolution of humans in general, we forget to work on what's already here and what's already there. And there is not enough science focusing on what we already have going on. Right? It's to me, this is a major topic. I always see people wanted to go ahead of time. And like I mentioned with technology, and we are always going further, but there is always a missing step right here at the beginning that we have never even cared about, talking about or focus on and try to solve or just rebalance or just understand. Because not everything is to be fixed. Sometimes it's just rebalancing things properly. Wow, it's an incredible conversation, Dr. Chari. I can't even believe that I have never heard about these techniques before. You've educated me first right now together, and I know you are going to educate many, many, many people out there, and mainly women, because this is who our audience is. You are a true gift because, once again, you've dedicated your life to work on things that really matter, and it's incredible. So for that, really, thank you. What is the long term mission? I kind of know what is a long term mission, but how do you conceptualize this long term mission?
Thank you, Sarah. Um, Really, my heartfelt mission in my life is to really empower women, for them to really know how beautiful they are, how special they are, and how each and every woman has been gifted with divine gifts that are meant to be brought forth in their unique way. And my gift and my goal, I should say, is for them to bring out their gifts in the best of health and happiness and confidence and joy so they can lead the life that they deserve and that they desire.
That is a
That's
beautiful message. A really beautiful message. Can I ask you, just for the purpose of anybody wanting to understand how to start their nutrition journey, what should they eat in a day? What would be an ideal balanced meal for the morning, the afternoon, the evening, and snacking in between?
yes. So for every woman, it's going to be a little bit different because, our metabolisms are different, our tastes and preferences are different. And, for some women, intermittent fasting is wonderful, where there's a period of maybe up to 8 to 11 hours between the time they have dinner to the time they have their first meal in the morning. But for other women, if they're very depleted, very stressed, are undergoing a lot, or their bodies are very weakened, then they have to be careful with intermittent fasting because they may get more depleted. And so it really varies person to person. So what I tell women that if really listen and honor your body's intuition, when you wake up in the morning, if you're hungry, please eat. And protein is very important, and vegetables are very important. And protein sources will vary. For some, women, you can eat meat. I mean, it depends what their preference is. Either eat meat or have lentils. Lentils are much more easily digestible than beans. Eggs are wonderful. They're a complete food. But to always try to get some form of veggies, some form of protein, and we shouldn't eliminate carbs because our body needs carbs as a source of fuel.
I'm absolutely on a no carb diet right now, so it's terrible.
No, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. But it's, for short term, that's not a problem. Or like, that's why I say it really depends person to person. For some people, they need very little carbs. For some people, they may need more carbs, but it really differs based on their metabolism, the health of their digestive system, and so many other factors. So, and for our thyroid, they're saying we really need to make sure that we're having enough carbs.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yes, it's very important, very important. But still, it's okay that this is what I'm finding, Sarah, is that there is no one set diet. And that's why there's a billion diet books on the market, is because no one size fits all. And it may vary day to day. Like one day you may want to eat a little bit more carbs, or another day I don't want to eat any carbs. And that's where the body's really trying to tell us what it needs at any given moment in time. So I tell women just to be flexible and really honor their inner wisdom and to see what feels right for them at any given moment in time. So, but in general on a plate, if they can eat, make sure at least a quarter of the plate is veggies, if not half. The more vegetables, the better. And if the digestive system is a little weak, make sure the veggies are well cooked. And I always tell women also avoid raw cruciferous vegetables, meaning, raw broccoli, kale, and things like that, because that can actually inhibit the thyroid gland and it can affect our thyroid. So make sure we need cruciferous veggies. We definitely need them for our body and our liver to detoxify, but make sure they're well cooked. That's very important. And make sure the sources of meat are from, grass fed or pasture raised, look ideally from local farmers, but if not, find good sources. And online, they even ship it, and there are good sources from family farms. And you can get that because it's the source of the meat, it's the source of our produce that's the most important. And that will enhance your health and vitality as much as what we eat is the quality of the food that we eat that makes a difference.
So, vegetables are very important. And you mentioned that they need to be cooked. Are we talking about salad as well?
So salads are different. Salads are different because we definitely need, that's why I want people to eat more veggies to get more fiber, to build up the good bacteria in their body, which is actually going to help their hormone health, their metabolism, and frankly, every function in their body, including their immune system. And so, with regards to salads, absolutely, salads are very important. And having different variety of salad, using arugula and butternut lettuce and romaine, and all of these, and use olive oil as a dressing, and you can use balsamic vinegar as well, but avoid the store bought dressings in general, even though I know they're delicious. But once you start making your salads with olive oil or some balsamic vinegar, it's so delicious, you'll enjoy it. But salads are important, and it's not that you can't eat any raw veggies, but just minimize it a little bit. With the cruciferous veggies, particularly, is what I'm speaking about. But it's not that you can definitely eat raw veggies otherwise, and of course, fresh fruits. And I prefer, what they call low glycemic fruits, meaning they don't have too much sugar, they don't spike up your sugar, and then you get the crash with it. It's not that you can't eat those fruits as well, but apples, especially green apples, actually are really good. And then all kinds of
They're
berries.
very tart.
Yes, they're very tart, but very full of nutrients. But you can mix and match a little bit, with the green and with the red. And but berries are very, very important. All types of berries as well. They don't spike up our blood sugar and are so good for us.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much for telling us about all of this. It's once again, it sounds always very evident, right? It sounds very obvious what we should do, but sometimes having a reminder that the solution doesn't have to be, like we mentioned, a pill. It has to be daily habits for sustainable changes. Is important to be reminded of that. Really, it makes, and I know it makes a world of a difference. Thank you so much, Dr. Chari, for coming today and explaining us about everything you're doing with your family, your wisdom, and all the techniques you have implemented at your center. I'm going to write all of your information in the description. I really want people to be able to reach out. If you want to have a consultation with Dr. Chari, just let her know you're from their podcast. This is why she's here. She's here to share her knowledge. She wants you to know about what is going on. And there are other alternative for you to feel better about life, better about yourself. And in 60 Minutes with a Woman, we are here all together to create this community where we can inform each other and just have insightful conversations about life and how to not struggle. and be together, just share this female solidarity. So thank you very much for being part of that.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I wanted to let your audience know as well that I offer a complimentary 15-minute consult with no obligation, because again, my passion is to teach. So they can, feel free to contact me for that as well.
That's wonderful. But I recommend it to everybody. That's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Chari, for today. And everybody, have a good one. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and keep building your own success story. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.